Good afternoon and welcome to the Day After Podcast and our sub-show Pixar Sunday, where we watch and review every Pixar film in chronological order. Today, however, we are going to toss away that cool-looking collage to discuss an item that wasn't supposed to be on the docket, a rewatch of 2019's Toy Story 4, directed by newcomer Josh Cooley.
So this is one of the few movies I think that I've ever seen, not just Pixar, but I've ever seen that I had the exact same opinion of the second time.
I'd like mine to be less ragey. I left the first time extremely upset, and I wanted to actually kind of try to quantify why I'm upset and to see if my opinion has changed in any way. I think you're pretty settled. I like to see if anything has changed at all.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why we sit here and talk about it.
Um, when in college, a friend of mine said, "Oh, let me tell you, they're working on a Toy Story 4." I'm like, "What?" It's like, oh, I don't think that's necessary. No, they have a really good idea, and when you hear it, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, I really doubted." Okay, it's gonna be a love story between Woody and Bo. I said it.
I mean, she didn't say it that quite.
No, she also didn't. No, but like she was really on board, and I have friends that I know now who are still on board with this.
And I could see where I don't know. I think it's fine for kids. And it's so easy. I worry that it's so easy to throw shit on this movie because you just don't like that they made another Toy Story movie. You're looking at it with nostalgia glasses. No, as a movie, this movie has problems.
It's so weird that Toy Story 1 and 2 came pretty close together. Toy Story 2 taught me that movies can have sequels when I was real little. So 9 years goes by, 11 years go by between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. 9 more years go by between Toy Stories 3 and 4. So we're looking at a 20-year gap since we last saw Bo Peep, voiced by Annie Potts.
And you're in between 3 and 4. You do have, as John and I have mentioned, some of these really solid shorts. Some are longer than others, but like the one with Jessie in the hotel.
Yeah.
And you feel like that Toy Story is trying to explore the world of toys as much as it can. So like, what about Happy Meal toys? What about toys that are left behind and lost and found? What about the like little cute gimmick toys?
Like gift shop toys. What
Yeah.
about that? Like and it's like having a really cool looking rock garden and throwing like handfuls of sand to fill in the gaps.
And if you look at this movie through that way, through how you're kind of seeing those shorts, this movie feels like it was 3 shorts shoved together based on what happens when kids make their own toys, what happens to toys in antique shops, and what happens to carnival toys.
Carnival toys, more specifically carnival toys and then like lost toys.
Yeah,
toys,
and lost toys, which is even a fourth thing.
Toys that objectively don't have owners.
Yes.
Okay. Spin the wheel. Who do you want to do? No, let's get Pixar mainstays out of the way real quick.
Oh, okay.
That's a really, really easy one. John Ratzenberger comes back to play everybody's favorite piggy bank, Ham.
He only has a few lines, doesn't he?
As does everybody, but that's its own problem. But Ham, thanks for coming back. John, you did a good job. The Pizza Planet truck is actually a little bit impressive. It is a back of the calf tattoo on one of the carny workers.
Oh yeah, with the guy who comes out of the bathroom.
And I will put on screen whichever this is. I wish I had Googled this. A113 is it's somewhere in a signage in the antique shop, the Second Chance Antique Shop.
Right on.
All right.
So as we tackle these separate points, and we'll decide if we want to do characters, relationships, or shorts, or whatever, I do want to have us avoid, if you don't mind, putting this in the context of the other Toy Stories. That was something I feel like we did a lot of last review, and again, I feel like that's low-hanging fruit. Like, obviously this is the worst Toy Story movie. Obviously that is the case. I want to discuss the issues of this problem as a movie, not just as a Toy Story
yes,
movie.
we'll try to be a little slower, a little more grounded, but if it is important, I will intercut the angriest moments from the previous podcast, because that's being deleted as soon as this goes up.
Right on.
For posterity. I believe his name is Joel McHale. Joel McHale plays Sporky. Sporky?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sporky.
No, Forky.
Forky, excuse me.
Forky is his name, even though he is a spork.
Yes, Joel McHale plays Joel McHale, making sure that's him. Tony Hale, excuse me.
Oh,
Tony Hale plays
sorry, Tony.
Forky, a child's construction project toy that you would make in a kindergarten class.
Yeah, so Bonnie is really nervous about going to kindergarten, and I think that is cute. I think you know, that's something a lot of kids go through, and so that's highly relatable. They kind of make Woody like oddly her parent in that scenario, which is kind of weird, but whatever. But she makes this fork thing that helps her stay grounded, and it becomes her coping mechanism at kindergarten, which is fine. You know, that works.
And I think that it works that Woody would be having, you know, not been a part of Andy's life for quite a while, would want to really help his new owner
Yeah.
during a stressful time. And I think that Woody tries to take over that in sort of a super ego kind of way. What bothers me is that when he brings Tony Hale home,
Yeah.
Forky home, and this now sentient toy, this now sentient spork, who's used for soup, salad, and maybe chili, he said, it wants nothing but to return to oblivion, to find the nearest trash can and throw himself into that.
Right, yeah, and it's not really explained why that is, and I'm kind of glad it's not, because this movie's too full already. But yeah, so he kind of keeps jumping into trash, and there's these really, really long joke scenes of him jumping in the trash from Bonnie's bed and Woody throwing him back, and then he jumps, and they do that like what, 8 times?
They do it quite a few times to the point where they had to fade during montages of him trying to throw himself away. And I think that I have two problems with that. Let me start with the one that I was most upset about during the previous podcast, is that this is opening the doors wide for CinemaSins type people to go, oh, how weird is it that there's a new toy that like doesn't want to be a toy? At what point do they have sentience, you know?
Yeah, how are they sentient? Anytime you write your name on something, does that become sentience? What about your math homework? Yeah, that's low-hanging fruit, guys.
It's introducing people to obsess about rules in a trilogy that's a quadrilogy now that's very focused on feeling and less about rules. People that get hung up in the first two Toy Stories about why they have to fall down when the humans walk in, it's not important.
Yeah, it's fine.
The second problem that Forky has is that when he he receives a final scene, I'll call it just for the time being.
Yeah.
Where during a 5-mile walk with Woody and Forky back to the campground, they have a very nice scene where Woody is far beyond done with trying to deal with Forky. And then he gets the opportunity to talk to Andy, talk about Andy.
Yeah, which is something Woody hasn't had the opportunity for.
Yes, and as soon as it clicks, he accidentally says Andy instead of Bonnie, and there's this huge bonding moment where the Forky internalizes that how he feels about trash is how the kid feels about him.
Right.
And I think that's a really that is a would you say that's a fulfilled?
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like that does make sense, and that's a nice scene both for Woody and for Forky. The turn is a little fast for me because he goes immediately from "I am just trash" to "Bonnie's my everything."
Yeah, it does
a little quick.
But he turns, and it doesn't. He doesn't. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But if you were to stop the movie there when Forky decides, oh, we gotta go find Bonnie, and just have them get back to the camper, Bonnie finds Forky again. If you were to end the movie there, great short.
What is interesting is that later in the movie, while we're doing other things we'll talk about, Forky becomes a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
A lot of the conflict is based around the group wanting to go get Forky back because Bonnie. And I understand that because Bonnie is a solid reason.
Yes.
But we never think about Forky as a character after a certain point. He becomes, let's go get him.
Yeah, he becomes a thing. And which is exactly what the other movies, and again, I said we weren't going to talk about this, but like, it's so good to not think about these toys as things.
Yeah.
And I was really a fan of that, and I don't like how they kind of turn it into that. It just becomes an excuse to put the characters into conflict.
Yeah. This is a side point. I won't give its own thing, but it's a oh god, we still got to talk about. I will get to it.
Yeah.
I'd like to move on to Bo Peep.
Okay, let's move on to Bo Peep.
Bo Peep was based on what I heard first from my friend, this was going to be the centerpiece of the film.
Which again would have been fine. This would have been, again, I feel like if you took these individual parts out and made them their own like little short, these would have been fine. Bo's
Yeah.
would have been the longest. But yeah, this idea of this lost toy who decides she doesn't need a kid, that's intriguing. That's
like-
the opposite of what every other Toy Story movie's told us.
This idea of just wandering and you know, as the moving carnival, which is, you know, has toys. Key and Peele serve a really interesting purpose, which is they remind the viewer about things like Partysaurus Rex did for bath toys, etc.
Right.
That's a really cool idea that gets fleshed out.
Right, and you get the idea, I think they say this, that Bo has kind of lived around this park for a while with the little police chick, and a couple other toys, and obviously her sheep. And they use this carnival as a means to get around, as to travel different places. And the Bosch Girl stick is a little nauseating, and it's more than a little nauseating. It annoys the fuck out of me. But there are other reviewers on YouTube who criticize that trope better, so I'm not going to go into it.
Well, yeah, it's going out of your way. Well, that's neither here nor there.
The Boss Girl thing is dumb.
It's
all I
interesting.
want to say.
The disconnect, an audience has a built-in disconnect, and I wonder to what degree this is the show's the movie's fault that we haven't heard from Bo Peep in 20 years. And you ask yourself, I asked myself when I saw this movie, and when I knew it was in production, in Toy Story 3, when there's just an offhanded noodle incident that Bo's not here, and they don't elaborate.
Yeah, I said they did the thing that Solo, the movie, did with Star Wars. They took one line from one movie and made it a movie.
I ran the Kessel Run in 6 parsecs. Yeah, that's very weird to take that and elaborate. And
I feel like they're trying to build up Woody and Bo's relationship, but like, I don't know.
She was a standard kissy gag 2 movies in a row.
Yeah, I mean, she was, and again, not to draw back with the other movies, but it was just, I mean, she did her part. She did what she needed to have this full fleshed out character, and to try to make their relationship mean something is really, really difficult, especially when we know that Woody cares about his kid more than anything else in the world.
Well,
So do you want to talk about that ending now or no?
Give me just a second to kind of spill what else I have left on Bo. The reuniting between them was a little clumsy, but that's a script writing thing that I think needs a pass. Yeah, okay. You know what? You're here. If you turn this on, it's accepted that you're ready for spoilers. So here we go.
Yeah.
At the end, very close to the end, like Woody his mind wasn't made up until really late in the movie, that he is not going back to Bonnie. He's going to live this adventurous park life with Bo and friends.
Yeah, and it feels like, okay, you have the pretty music swell, you have all these lights around, and it just doesn't feel earned, is the biggest issue.
I said when it happened, you can swell the music all you want, you have to earn these emotions.
Yeah, and you haven't built up Woody and Bo Peep's relationship very well. Part of the reason is because we're spending so much time on other stuff, and some of that stuff is really good, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But there's it has the Incredibles, a similar Incredibles problem, in that there's too much going on for any single piece of this to feel warranted. And so to have Woody go against every single thing we know about his character, you have to build that up, and it didn't.
It didn't get time. Let's be fair. If Incredibles 2 is stage 4 obesity, this is like stage 2 obesity.
Yeah, it's
not
it's
there
still
yet.
fat. It doesn't piss me off.
Yeah.
This movie has payoff. Some of it sucks, but there's payoff.
Yeah, and I think that I'm not talking about other movies, but from what a person knows about Woody through 3 other movies, he is a kid loyalist to a fault.
Right. And even in this movie, you get that sense, like he's not happy about it, but he's kind of resigned himself to the closet. But the second Bonnie shows some kind of distress, he's at her side immediately.
Yeah, which is like the whole introduction. This really feels like a 3-part anthology.
It does.
Yeah, and that's the whole incitement for the Forky scenario.
And that's what I meant by a lot of shorts. It feels like it was a bunch of different shorts shoved into a movie.
Yes, it was.
So yeah, the ending is not handled well, and the Bo Peep relationship is not handled well. Before we go into the antique store, can we talk about the rest of Andy's toys?
Yeah, let's talk about little tiny side character driven nitpicks. The big problem that it's an emotional problem. I think it still holds a little bit of weight now. Is that while Buzz and Woody and Kay and Peele that they meet and the others are trying to do plot stuff related to Bo and to the third arc we'll get to, the rest of the characters are just hanging out.
Yeah, they're just sitting in the camper trying to find ways to get the camper to not go.
And
because plot.
That results in, I don't know, it feels like a large bit of wasted movie, because as soon as you come to grips with the fact that they are not going to do anything with these extra characters,
yeah,
you begin to feel like your time's being wasted.
But it tries to make you think that it is doing something with these characters. When Jesse jumps out the window and stabs the tire with a nail, there's this big music swell and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, Jesse, woo!" And I'm like, "What? Where the fuck did that come from?"
It's like that Family Guy gag where you get to see what they're doing when the cutaway is happening and everybody's just sitting around smoking a cigarette, waiting for it to come back.
Right.
But Buzz is there also.
Oh god. Buzz is part of the main plot, and he still has nothing to do.
Buzz,
you're a dash.
Buzz, you're a dash now. What? Offhandedly, Woody says, "I don't want to do something regarding Forky. I wouldn't let my inner voice wouldn't allow me to do that." And Buzz goes, "Huh? Who do you think it is?"
And he looks around super dramatically around the camper.
I think that the character wouldn't. If Woody knows what a conscience is, Buzz knows what a conscience is. He's not an alien.
Yeah, he's not stupid. He's not an idiot.
But he gets painted as such for the entire gag.
And like when he's talking about Forky, he's like, "Oh, we should have kept a better eye on the utensil." I'm like, that's not a thing Buzz would say. He would have just called him Forky because Forky's a human.
That is a thing that pre-programmed Buzz clone from Toy Story 2 would have said.
Yeah. And they try to capture the Buzz from Toy Story 1, I think is what they almost try to do.
And in doing that,
because you know this character, it doesn't work.
It feels like he's unlearning things you learned from better movies.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to compare this to other, but the point is that unless you count those other movies, with Buzz, there's no character development in this movie.
No, you have to accept that Buzz is a lot of people's favorite, and that's why they gave him something.
Yeah. But they drag him around the third arc of the plot.
They really do, and it feels like they gave him Monsters Inc. disease. They gave in service of him being funnier. He does things his character does not do.
Yeah. And the rest of the cast is just like caught up in this dumb little slapstick that goes nowhere, and it pads an already kind of full movie.
I got really distressed that people were all excited that posthumously they went through all of Don Rickles' old material to find words for him to say that would fit the script, and it's not really that impressive considering how little he's in it.
Yeah, and how little everybody is in it, even the characters that are still alive. Buttercup wants Dad to go to jail. Isn't that funny? Twice.
That's similar to, he's rich, so she won't.
Yeah.
That is out of character.
It goes nowhere.
It's out of character for the sake of a joke, like similar to later game Simpsons, but there's a whole analogy I won't get into there.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
I'd like to just touch briefly on Kay and Peele's character, Duck and Bunny.
We need comedians in this movie, so we made Duck and Bunny.
Kay and Peele play themselves as a blue bunny and a smaller yellow duck who
they're attached at the hand because they're
that's how it works.
Circus. Yeah, they're carnival games.
And they are what are their goals? Their goals are to vamp.
Yes. Well, technically their goal is to find a kid, which is why they're following Buzz and Woody and Forky around. But they fill out the plot and separate the cast.
I said it in the first one. A lot of the screenplay probably has blocks that say Kay and Peele vamp for a second.
Yeah. All right, we're getting way into this review and we haven't talked about the third arc yet.
All right, so let me be frank before we get subjective. On the way to rescuing Forky and Bo to some extent, they stop and do a small town antique shop called Second Hand Antiques, where they meet a toy named Gabby.
They meet several toys.
Chief among them Gabby, not the leader, but in an acquaintance with several upsetting looking puppets that walk her around in a very unsettling way.
Yes.
And over the course of the movie, you learn some more things about Gabby. And at the end of the movie, my wife put it really well. Gabby deserved a better movie.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Gabby Gabby is a direct ripoff of an actual 1950s doll called Chatty Cathy. And the way they actually explain how her voice recording works is pretty legit. Like it's you have a little disc, and you have the motor that runs it, and her motor is broken, and that's why she thinks that she is in an antique store and not loved by a kid. So she goes through this really effed up plot to kidnap Woody to steal his voice box so she can be a working toy again.
And it leads to an earned distressing moment, which is, I don't want to say rare, but earned distressing in Toy Story is especially rare, and that's when as Woody is being cornered at pencil point by these dolls and Gabby, she using all the information she gleaned from Forky,
The MacGuffin,
says that I see what you mean. Like, you just want to be loved. You've had 2 kids. I've had none.
yes.
I want that love more than anything.
And that gives that scene with Woody and Forky so much more weight, because she is learning. Woody realizes that she has learned all these things and all of these hundreds of moments that he had both with Andy and Bonnie, and she says this really great line of like, "I just want one of those moments."
Yeah.
And she has this weird obsession, not weird, but she has this obsession with this the granddaughter of the antique shop owner called Harmony. And she gets her voice box. She does everything thinks she needs to do. She becomes the best doll that she thinks she can be. And when put in front of Harmony, Harmony just kind of tosses her aside. She's like, yeah, whatever. And so everything that Gabby has learned about herself, everything that Gabby has built up in her mind of what she needs to be, is tossed aside in a second.
And it was really, I was shocked how welcome that was in a moment where, because the setup to that scene is Woody trying to take Forky and Forky being like, no, wait, you have to watch this happen.
Mm-hmm.
It took a break to have this happen, and that was a really shocking story beat that I wasn't ready for.
Yeah, and I think John said it already. I'm of the firm opinion that Gabby deserves a better movie, especially when what happens later in the carnival after they get out of that antique store.
They do get out of that antique store, and Gabby just casually, while she's helping them escape, notices a kid who's lost their parents and is crying, and is like, "I'm going to sit you here, and we're going to introduce you to this kid as best we can without moving," and they become best friends, and Gabby, this character who was really steeped in unsettling, borderline horror aesthetic,
yeah,
gets a really emotional human send off.
Yeah, it's really solid, especially since Gabby thinks she's gonna go to Bonnie, and she's like, I have to do something. I can't just sit here and not exist anymore. And she has this really good heart to heart with Woody that I won't go into, but yeah, to see that, like, she puts aside her own wants for the first time, her own ideas and her own desires. She's like, this kid needs help, and I need to help her. It's so good, especially when it was based on a real doll. It's really cool.
Yes, it was. It was in a series with a lot of good turn bad villains. Maybe not twist villains, but good turn bad villains. Where you find out somebody's not who they said they were. To have somebody who you thought was a little spooky turn out to be a really endearing, relatable human.
Yeah.
In a story about dolls, that pays off, and that Gabby section alone puts it, I think, over the second Incredibles.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in this movie. It is kind of full. It is not as fat as Incredibles, but it has some padding that doesn't need to be there.
You also said that it fails the hell out of the mac and cheese test, guys. If you're at home, if you're playing, mac and cheese test was born out of a watching we did for the movie Bird Box. Shorthand, the mac and cheese test is testing your ability to pay attention to a movie throughout its entire runtime. Because Bird Box failed the mac and cheese test, and that with 20 minutes to go, Haley took out her phone and goes, "You can buy a 27-pound thing of mac and cheese for so many dollars."
Yeah. I was just like, I was on Facebook, so bored watching Bird Box, and I found out that Costco sells gallon buckets of mac and cheese. And I'm like, that's fucking crazy. My husband needs to know about this instead of the movie we're watching.
And it was really a bummer. It was a huge bummer to find out as they are about to rope cross over to where Forky and Gabby are that there's 38 minutes left.
Yeah.
And that is the worst thing I can say about your movie is that I found out there's 40 minutes to go and I just sank.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those movies you're constantly looking at the scrub art going, Jesus Christ, how can you, and like you can't even absorb everything that's going on because there's so much squeezed into this tiny little space. And it doesn't have the runtime that Incredibles does. This is what, 20 minutes shorter?
It feels equally fat by being 20 minutes shorter. Where did it go?
And I just think it would have, I can't fault this movie because it's not what I want it to be, but it would have been better as individual shorts. Give Sporky his own thing. Please, Jesus Christ, give Gabby her own thing. Even some, like the Canadian Evil Knievel or whatever.
I'll get it. Duke Kaboom.
Yeah, Duke Kaboom, give him just this nice little short, have them meet somewhere. Or Bo Peep,
Give her a 30-minute special.
Yeah, like by herself even. Like,
yeah,
that's cool.
Dude.
How did she decide to break away from her lamp? And there's some really neat things here, but I don't know whose decision it was to put every single tiny detail into this movie. And I worry it's a trend that's going on with movies now because I say that about a lot of movies that have come out recently.
That is too complex.
It's too complex. There's too much going on with a lot where Pixar shine. Apparently, I'm going into final thoughts. Where Pixar shines for me is those movies that I can explain to somebody in a couple sentences. Fish dad loses his son and goes on this massive journey to find him despite being very panically and emotional.
Bug has to kill Grasshopper, so go get other bugs.
Yes.
That kind of thing. It's a very high concept elevator pitch. This requires you to go, okay, so like 9 years ago they lost Bo Peep but they were trying to get another toy and then they one day he's like going on vacation or something, but then there's a fork first. It gets
This is a 5-year-old telling a dream he had.
Oh,
that starred some of his favorite characters from a movie he watched as a kid, but also like threw in some random stuff. And there's a funny bunny, and
the kid's subconscious doesn't know what it means to like.
Wouldn't it be funny if they drove around a skunk and that's how they scare everybody?
I'm. Okay, the stank acknowledged. We're upset. We're not pissed off because when you throw a bunch of marbles down the stairs, I don't know, something good happens.
Well, yeah, it's like your marble race game. How many? Like imagine a giant slope, and then you have a couple marbles that go down this little tube into this really elaborate thing. Most of them just fall straight to the ground.
Yeah. It could have, it has some redeeming points, but it's ultimately aimless, but not as painfully aimless as Incredibles 2 is.
Yeah.
Guys, that's been our surprise stop coverage of 2019's Toy Story 4. Regretfully, we have but one stop before the final review here. We will have the honor in 1 week of tackling 2020's Onward.
Yes, we have never seen.
Yeah, but
this is the only movie besides Good Dinosaur that neither of us have seen.
That lost money for the studio?
Oh, I didn't know it lost money.
Well, COVID happened. And
I know it's about pants. That's all I got.
I know it's about pants and the color purple.